Welcome to Ancient and Justified. Empty the party zone. Revisited.
With me, James Hyman.
And with me, Simone Angel.
So Howie B today.
Exactly. We're going to catch up with Howie B. It's been a long time.
Over 25 years. It was in 96, February 96, if memory serves me correct, when he was on Party Zone, just before he went mega as U2's support DJ. But not just a support DJ, he was producing them, or he was the vibes man. I don't think he liked being called the vibes man. Because he's
funny,
a very
right?
Yeah, very talented
It's funny.
guy.
I mean, that quote stuck with me too, that he was basically hired to provide the vibes. It's like, what is that?
What? I think, and dare I say it, I think a lot of this is a real controversial statement. Arguably, without naming names, I think there's a lot of people out there in music who are not so hands-on. Now, he's very hands-on. He was a fantastic engineer, Howie B. But a lot of people are, quote, producers. And are they really, making the music? Is it not maybe this engineer, that one? There's a lot of people who are ideas people who get the credit for even writing songs or being the producer and being vibes people. It's very interesting sometimes, I think. There's certain, again, I don't want to, name and shame, but there's some big artists who, for example, are writers on their music or claim to be producing. And where do you draw that line?
Well, maybe it's the other way round. Maybe it's just that some people should be getting more credit than they are. Let's put it that way. It's not that the producer doesn't have any input, but sometimes you might have engineers who really put their own stamp on stuff and who don't get the credit. Maybe it's a bit more.
Yeah,
like
I'll give you a good example, actually, who's someone who Howie B was very closely affiliated with because he released records on the Mo Wax label. Is James Lavelle. Now, he gets a lot of stick for people saying, oh, what did you do? You were a bit of a vibes man in the studio. I'm very fascinated by James Lavelle and what he's done. It's equally Howie B. But when you look at their body of work and what they've done, I mean, arguably, James Lavelle's very important. He brought a lot of people together. He's, could you not say, an orchestrator, someone who brings all the elements, and that can be the packaging of the record, how something looks, is arguably as important as the engineer, the vocalist. It's the teamwork, isn't it? It's all those elements coming together. So Howie B could be, as he talks a lot in these great interviews, particularly a very good one in NME where he makes it. Look, this is when he was on tour with U2.
What is it? What does the headline say? Be here now.
Yeah, and he talks about watching the sun come up with The Edge after one of U2's. There's some amazing stuff in this piece alone.
Nice.
Smoking joints or whatever with William Burroughs, Wim Wenders coming in. His life then, you've clearly got to ask him about that whole Popmart tour because the kind of the stories and the people he was meeting and was just unbelievable. DJ for U2's Popmart tour, a tour at that time, I think in 1997, apparently that tour was costing $250,000 a day to run. He was hanging out with Liam Gallagher. Is he in touch with any of these people anymore? It's kind of interesting. I mean, Oasis was supporting U2 in San Francisco on that tour. So he hung out with the real who's who. I mean, if you're with U2 and you've got a strong role with U2, you're going to be meeting a lot of very interesting people and have a lot of very interesting anecdotes. In fact, your whole interview could have a mighty chunk of those anecdotes if he wants to talk about them.
And he was working with Björk.
Yeah.
He was working
Massive
with
Attack.
Tricky.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, some really amazing people.
Soul to Soul.
Yeah.
Soul to Soul. Siouxsie and the Banshees. Nick Rogue, the filmmaker, as a kind of, again, a bit of a vibesman, giving soundscape. Very talented guy. His Pussyfoot label, stuff he did on the Mo Wax label. Think it's interesting to ask him. Well, two things, actually. Two interesting cultural events. I think he talks about taking the Edge once to a gay Puerto Rican disco in New York. And the Edge is brilliantly dressed. He's in his kind of village people outfit with his boots on and, got his droopy moustache and his cowboy hat, so that was probably yet funny. Again an amazing evening he may want to remember or may not want to remember.
It's a great mental image. I like that. That's funny.
I'm interested in his roots. I mean, he grew up a Jewish kid in Glasgow in a kind of Catholic Protestant environment. How did that shape him? Must have had some effect on him.
Wow,
interesting. You know, Howie Bernstein being his real name, shortened to B. Is he religious in any way now? I mean, anti-Semitism is a big thing if you're Jewish. But there's that. And of course, what has he been up to since, you know, you were there on that couch with him? If I remember, it was all nice pink. I think there's clips on YouTube. It was a kind of weird little sofa, wasn't it? It was all pink light. It was pink lit.
It was like cushions. It was cushions on the floor. Yeah. We were just kind of sitting on the floor.
You were vibesing. You were vibesing.
Definitely vibesing. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's going to be really good fun. I'm looking forward to chatting with him. I'm sure, like you said, he's got some amazing stories to tell. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Just from that one article alone. So yeah, enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello, I have Howard Bernstein, aka Howie B, on the show. Thank you for being here.
How are you? It's been a very long time.
It has, hasn't it? I don't even know the last time we met. I do know that it was just before things really blew up with you. I know that.
Yeah, I think it was round about. I think it was like 96.
But yes, thank you for being on the show again. And, you know, let's start with that. So, Howard Bernstein, Howie B, was that name the nickname you already had growing up or at school? Or was it the name that you took, the obvious name you took when you started to make music?
Well, the name was given, it happened whenever I was doing the Soul to Soul stuff with Nelly and Jazzy, Dobie, Daddy Harvey, HB, all those peeps. And then one day, Nelly turned around to me, Nelly Hooper, said, I think you should call yourself Howie B. And I went, that's what I'm going to call myself. It was like about, you know, the decision took about 2 seconds. And I went, okay, yeah, Howie B, that works for me. It was good. It was a little bit, it was quite American at the time. This was like 1988, 89. So people were like a bit confused whenever they met me. And all of a sudden, I had this Scottish accent. They were like, wait a minute, you're not from America. No, I'm from Glasgow.
So, talking about coming from Glasgow, I actually have, there's a magazine article that James Hyman has dug out that talks about your childhood and growing up in Glasgow. So let me just try and share that with you.
Okay.
This is The Wire magazine. As a Jewish boy growing up amid the Protestant versus Catholic sectarianism of Glasgow, Howie was an isolated adolescent who divided his time and passion between 70s cosmic jazz fusion and reading radical psychoanalysis and mystical thinkers such as R.D. Laing, Gurdjieff, Uspensky. He actually studied psychology in Manchester, but quit when he realised that the only thing in which he was qualifying was taking drugs and partying.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there.
That's a lot to unpack.
So let's start maybe with you growing up. So you're a Jewish boy growing up in an area where it's all the Catholics against the Protestants. I mean, not actually fighting, but there was a lot of strife. So what was that like? Let's start with that one.
It was really interesting. It was an interesting one because it was down to what football team you supported. And also what school you went to, because the schools, like the government schools in Glasgow, they were Protestant schools, and it still is to this day, Protestant and Catholic schools, and they were quite often beside each other. So I remember I fancied a woman called Laura Cheshire. My friends go, no, it's the wrong religion. You can't fancy that woman. And it was like, why not? And so I was in between this I don't know, there was animosity that was going on between two different religions, and I was like, I don't quite get what's going on here.
No.
I don't get it. I didn't get it.
So did you go to a Catholic school or a Protestant school?
I went to a Protestant school.
You know what? It's funny actually, because at one point, it was in 1988 in Ibiza, I met a group of Scottish guys. And that was their first question to me. You know, I'm from the Netherlands, but they met me and they were like, are you Protestant or Catholic? And I went,
yeah,
I don't know. And they said, well, okay, what school do you go to? And I went, Protestant. And they said, what about your family? I said, well, my mum's an atheist and my dad is meant to be Catholic, but he doesn't go to church. And I said, and I sing in a church choir, but we sing at a Catholic mass and at the Protestant service, so I don't know. So they basically just assigned me. I can't remember what they assigned me, but they thought I had enough of one or the other to assign me to their group so that they could be friends with me. But it was just nuts, right? It's just
it was. I couldn't figure it out.
No.
I couldn't figure it out, and the way that me and the group of people that I were hanging out with, we figured out was we just listened to music.
Right.
We went round to each other's houses, we put on records, and we listened to music. And it didn't matter who or what. We were listening to reggae, we were listening to Siouxsie and the Banshees, we were listening to folk music, we were listening to rock, Santana, John McLaughlin.
Right.
So, and that music and our love of music between all of us, all this group of people, that's what brought us together, and that's what saved us, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
That saved us. And as soon as I was like about literally 17, it was like, okay, time to leave. Time to get out of here, because it was really on top.
Wow.
And
but was there a lot of music in your own family as well? Were your parents musicians or anything like that?
No.
Did you train? Did you train? I mean, did you play instruments growing up?
I did. I went to tap dancing.
I didn't expect that.
I had a great tap dancing uniform, Simone. It was beautiful. You should have seen me in those days.
Oh, that's funny. You should have pulled that skill
painted
out, like
shoe.
during a DJ set.
Yeah.
You should have just put time on something and start tap dancing. That would have been so good.
Yeah, no. And no, my parents, in terms of music, it was like, I remember I turned around to my dad and I said, look, I want to get into music. After I did the psychology thing, I went down to Manchester and I did that. I came back and I went, okay, this is not working. This is not working for me. I want to do music. And then he turned around to me and goes, wait, so what instrument do you play? I go, I don't play any instruments. Can you read music? No, I can't read any. I can't read a note of music. And I go, and I said, but that's what I want to do. I know I can do something in there. I can feel it. And I said, will you support me? And he goes, no. He goes, no. You've got to go and get yourself a proper job.
Oh my
That's what he said.
Oh,
get a proper job.
Oh, how funny.
And at that point, I left home.
Wow.
And that was it. And it was good. It was a brilliant one. It was actually a good little thing. It's good when someone says no to you. Because it actually instills, like, I'll show you what. And literally, like, it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's the difference between people who really succeed in life and those who don't. I mean, that is the moment when someone says no. Is that like a red flag to a bull? Or do you then give up? And the ones who see it as the red flag to the bull, the ones who go, oh, really? I'm going to show you. You think I can't do it? I'll prove it to you. Those are the ones that succeed, usually, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I don't know whether that's a big generalization there. That is.
Yeah, I get that feeling though. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the feeling I get.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one. I think a no, it can be one of the most positive things that can happen to you in your life. Someone said, so yes, I agree with you and I disagree with you.
Is that your psychology coming out there? Has the psychology, stuff that you learned, has that helped you as a producer, as an engineer? Like, have you been able to kind of make use of that? Do you understand? Can you read people better because of that? Maybe.
I think the books that I've read, and the conversations and the poetry I've read, and the songs I've listened to, that's what makes me good producer.
Right. Yeah. I think it's amazing to when you said that you didn't actually play any instruments, you can't read music, and yet you're so incredibly skilled. I mean, the thing that is so special, I think, about you is that if someone says to you, I want it to sound like a spring day, I want it to sound like dark, I want it to sound scary, that you, whatever emotion or feeling, that you are actually able to then get the sounds exactly just so to create that. Am I right in describing it like that?
I Simone, you hit the nail right now. I love those corners. Like when a band or when an artist or singer or a songwriter that I'm working with comes up with these requests. I want it to sound red. And I go, okay,
wow,
great. Yeah,
I love that. That's magic.
Yeah, I want it to sound red. And it's like, so then that request goes into me, goes into my little noodle, and then my experience in what my life experience comes out. That's my action. My action comes out from that. And the skills in terms of atmosphere came from my time working in Lily Yard Studios,
right, with Hans Zimmer,
Hans Zimmer,
yeah,
and another guy called Stanley Myers. So Hans was the electronic sort of side of this production team, and Stanley was the more classical / jazz side of it. And those guys were like, I would say, top of the pyramid of expressing emotions. And how to put those emotions or atmospheres into music.
Wow.
And it could be just one note. It could be one note, or it could be a drone, or it could be a chord, or it could be a jazz band coming in. That 3 years that I worked with those two guys, that was, I would say, another beautiful colour on where I'm coming from.
It's so magical, isn't it, though? I mean, I love the idea as well that basically when you're making music, really all you're doing is you are moving molecules. You're making molecules vibrate, which then go into someone else's ear, let their ears, the eardrum vibrate, and that gets translated into the sound. I mean, the whole thing is just so out there. And then you can actually take an emotion or a word like red, and you can translate that into sound. It's just like, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, well, it's not... The more you go into your mind about it, then the less that actually happens.
Right.
It's like...
It's a feeling.
It's about action. It's a feeling. It's action. It's action. It's like... And also not being... what's the word? Selfish about it.
Yeah.
It's like... You've got to have that conversation with the artist, the composer, whoever it is you're with. Even a director of a film. I do like with film scores. You've got to listen. The most important thing is to listen and actually hear where they are, what is actually happening in their soul. What do they want to express?
Yeah.
And then the challenge happens. It's like, okay. And then with the if someone asked me to do red when I was 18, I would just get out a crayon and I would do red.
Right.
A red crayon. A Caran d'Ache. I'm just giving a note to my sponsor, Caran d'Ache. But you would just do that. But no, that's not. It's like, okay, so you just use I use my experience of working with different orchestras, different bands, etc., and then I go, okay, I think this might be right.
Actually, there's another interesting quote. I'm going to play that for you. So hold on one sec.
Brian Eno kept a diary, and he says, on December the 6th, 1995, this is an extract from Brian Eno's diary, "The thing you two want from Howie is his weird sense of space, his ability to leave things alone and let the listener do the work."
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
That I mean, I can, that is it. For me, even when I'm making my own music, forgetting producing, forgetting all of that, but even when I'm making my own music, I've got to step back and go, is this giving me is this letting me go somewhere? Mm-hmm. Or is it too much information coming at me? And if it's too much information, I either delete. Normally I delete and I just start again.
Wow.
I'm not precious about what I do. I'm not precious about my own music. So, I'm not like, I've got to keep that in the pocket for
just in case.
Just in case. Just in case. No, the space. I love the idea of space. That was my route really into music. Was okay. What's my signature here? What's my signature? My signature is space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting because other artists have said this. I know that Picasso used to say it about a painting. He said a painting is not just about the objects you see on the canvas, it's also the space between the objects. And I know that Miles Davis used to say it as well about his music. He said, it's not just about the notes I play, it's about the space or the air between those notes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also respect as well. Respect to, for Picasso's respect to the person that is standing in front of his painting and going, oh. And where that takes that person to. For me, it's the same. I respect the people that listen to my music. I adore the people that listen to my music. And also to my productions. And it's about instilling in them, I would say, nothing to do with the head. It's to do with just the action, just the action of listening, and what happens when one listens, which happens in conversation, happens in music, happens in art, happens in architecture, happens everywhere.
But I'm almost wondering if the spaces are actually the harder parts. I think especially in the kind of culture where we live, we like to fill everything, like in conversations, as soon as there is a silence, we're inclined to fill it. There's something scary about leaving something open. So do you think that sometimes out of insecurity, people layer their music too much, that you almost need a certain level of confidence to just step back and go?
Is that a rhetorical question?
No, I'm asking you. Do you think?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for me,
right.
It's like, for me, like there was one producer I worked with. Right, this is when we were in analog, and we had 24 tracks in the tape machine. Track 24 was the code, which was telling the machines what to do, and his limit was 23. Even when we got to like track 10 and the track was sounding brilliant. Oh no, I've still got another 8 tracks to go. And I'll go, look, it's done. No, I've got another 8 tracks or whatever to go. I've got to fill them up. And of course, all of a sudden, this beautiful groove song all of a sudden became this I don't know. And it was, and this is, and it's even more common now today. Mm-hmm. I get mixes sent to me. Howie, will you mix this song? Yep, I'll mix it. I hear the demo of it. The demo is that a guy in a guitar sitting in the bedroom playing it, and he's singing a song, and then all of a sudden, 4 weeks, and I hear that, and I go, that's a beautiful song. 4 weeks later, I've gone into the studio, and I've got 128 tracks. 25 tracks of guitar, la 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 la, and the song has disappeared. It's just totally disappeared.
Wow.
And that's very common today, especially with this. I mean, I'm not being negative about digital, but there's no limit. There's no limit.
Exactly.
It was brilliant when we were, in the 80s. I mean, I'm not like being a Luddite, but whenever we had a limit to what we could actually do.
Yeah.
We pushed it, and it was like, if you listen to, like, Annie Lennox and the songs that she was doing with Dave Stewart in the 80s, they were recorded on 4-track.
Wow.
If you listen to the songs the most beautiful soul songs in the world, like they're recorded in the 60s and the 70s, 4 8-track maximum. And they sound full, and they touch us, and boom. There's something to be learned from that. It's not digital versus analog. It's to do with the concept of enough. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and I think also in a way then today you need to be even braver to leave certain imperfections, because to me the more perfect, same with a person, if a person is just perfect looking, I often find them quite dull looking. I prefer to see people who look a little bit different from everyone else and who are not quite perfect. And to me, that just makes everything more interesting. And the same with music. If you listen to old Beatles songs, there's mistakes in there, and they're still in there. And I love that kind of, because you don't quite know what to expect. It keeps you on your toes a little bit. And if all the music is just perfect, it just gets a bit dull, I think.
It's to do with just really us as human beings, as people. Life, we listen, like the conversation just now, I'm hearing little cars going by and la 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 la. That's real. Right. It's real. Mm-hmm. It's real. It's like I record a singer, and the singer goes, "Can you take my breaths out?"
Take it out.
I'm sorry.
Take it out.
Yes.
Oh no!
Yeah, can you take my breathing? Can you take my breathing out?
No.
I go. You breathe, for fuck's sake. Exactly. I just wanted to come in on. I go. All right. Yeah, the breath it's real. It's real. And with drummers, if you listen to all our favourite Rolling Stones or whatever albums, or la 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 la, beautiful soul albums, Curtis Mayfield, etc. The tempo is it's like going like that. Now everything is like on the grid. It's like this, like this, like this, and it's like, wait a minute. And our attention span, whenever we hear stuff like that, it gets. It's like, wait a minute, there's something up here. We don't physically or verbally say it, but literally we're now down to listening to songs that last for 1 minute. Bang, and then we switch it.
Yeah. Because
it's like, no. That was French. I appear to be living in France.
Oh, great. I love it. So this time so you're in France, I'm in Belize. Let me see then. I was with Adamski, he was in Vienna.
Yes, I'm in Adamski, and we've been contacting each other again, which is brilliant. I love that. Yeah, he's a good man, isn't he? He's gorgeous.
He is. I love that guy. He's such a unique character, and the interview with him was so much fun. He comes out with some really quite outrageous and very funny quotes, and he doesn't even seem to realise it. And he wonders why the press used to go mad over him, but it's like he just comes out with these one-liners. And he's such a unique guy. I really enjoy him. Can I play another quote? Because now that we're talking about famous people from the past, let me play another. This is a longer clip.
So a lot of these are basically from a really big piece in The Enemy, 5th of July, 1997. It's been a busy time for Glasgow DJ Howie B. He's watched the sun come up with The Edge, shared a smoke with William Burroughs, and taken tea with Wim Wenders, all between fitting in his slot on the military operation that is U2's Popmart tour. 1 minute he's in his East London studio twiddling his solo knobs, the next he's in Kansas rolling spliffs with William Burroughs. He was amazing, says Howie. He was drinking this stuff all afternoon, which I thought was soup. Turns out it's vodka shots. He's 87 years old and still likes to smoke. His manager's standing there going, whatever you do, don't cough. You know what happened last time. In LA, he was asked round to angel-loving director Wim Wenders' house to drink tea and suss out music inspired by his new movie, The End of Violence. A week later, Ry Cooder's on the phone asking him to pop back to California to help with a mix. And tonight, he gets to hang out with some bloke called Liam Gallagher, whose band are opening for U2 in San Francisco. For me to go on after Oasis will be magic, he laughs. But in the midst of a celebrity roll call, which will over the next 3 shows include George Michael, Johnny Depp, Julian Lennon, Perry Farrell and Winona Ryder, the hyperactive Howard Bernstein remains deafeningly unaffected. There are no signs that Howie gets off on the star trip.
Oh.
Wow, so that was like a whole big celebrity roll call. I mean, your life was kind of nuts, wasn't it, for a while?
It was totally nuts, Simone. I was in this bubble, like riding around in a chariot. You know, it was like, it was crazy, you know. It was, what was great about it for me, I mean, like the root of it was I had to share it. I had to share that experience. I didn't do it like, okay, right. I brought as many of my friends in from Glasgow, my family, from London. So the most important thing for me at that time was to share, not to do this as a solo mission. Mm-hmm. I was, you know, I was flying around in a private jet. I was flying around la 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 la, and it wasn't just a private jet. It was a fucking 737. You know, it was like a 50-seater jet. You know, and it was like, okay. So bring as many people with me, and the people that I was with at the time, it was a social thing. It was a social thing, and it was, okay. I'm going like this. My career is popping like crazy. Share it. Don't keep it in my pocket. Share it. Share that experience. Those big hotels. Those brilliant restaurants, la 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 la, and eventually, you know, not eventually, but the end thing is the performance. Yeah. You know, I was like doing front of house sound for U2.
Yeah, crazy.
I was supporting them and then running as I was before. I was playing for an hour before they played, and then running and producing the actual show. It was like
you were producing the show as well. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. It was crazy time. It was like, so I was rehearsing the band with U2 with them, you know, rehearsing them like 3 or 4 days between each gig. We did 3 gigs a week for about a year and a half, going around the world.
Wow.
I was rehearsing them. Then doing sound checks with them, and then playing before they went on. I was whoever we had Skunk and Nancy, we had Fun Loving Criminals, we had Rage Against the Machine.
Wow.
We had the big boys and girls coming in, right? And then I was slotted in for the last hour before the band came on. Then I would do my little set and then run to front of house and have 2 engineers there. Joe Hurley, right? Mwah, he's still doing their front of house sound. And I'd be standing there like that. A little bit more bass, Joe. Howie, I think it's a bit too much bass we've got there. I go, there's never too much bass, Joe.
Wow.
And then we go after each gig. We'd go backstage, right? And I would run through the gig. Bono, I think you could do better in this song. Edge, well, Larry, Adam, but I would go like that, and then Adam would go, Howie, man, I hit that bass note, that low E. I go, yeah. He goes, we all jumped off the fucking stage. It was like, I go, was that good for you? He goes, yes, that was good for me.
I love that. That's funny.
So it was crazy.
But you know what? I think it's probably a good thing. So what you did by bringing a lot of the people that you loved and cared about, who were not in the industry, I assume, to take them along. Yeah. Because the thing that I found was, when I was in the midst of all my MTV stuff, where, again, you're hanging out with celebrities, you're in these really bizarre situations, really fun situations.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I found when I was with my friends who were not in the industry, I got embarrassed to share what I had done that last weekend because it felt like I was bragging, because I would ask them, oh, what have you done? And they'd done, oh, I've done an extra shift at the supermarket, or I had to take my dog to the vet. What did you do? And I'm like, I felt like I couldn't even share it sometimes. I just felt so awkward because it really felt like bragging. But I guess with you, if you take people along, you could share that a lot more.
Yeah, and also it's the people you're working with as well. It's how I would have brought my family in if they were going to get a big negatory from the people I'm working with. Mm. Like, what are you doing here? Who is this person? No. It's down to, it's a people, music is a people thing.
Yeah.
It's a people thing. And if the people you're working with are not into people, au revoir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you were lucky with you too that because they're just great guys, right? I mean,
they're great guys, yeah. And it was the same with Björk. It was the same with Trick. It was the same with. Yeah. Although I would not bring people into a situation that I wasn't comfortable with. That would be very, very selfish of me, and that would be me showing off.
So, from that whole period, what are some of your favourite memories? Because, already just what that article mentioned, there were some pretty bizarre moments. So, what are some of the moments that are just stuck in your head?
Meeting William Burroughs and spending an afternoon with him in an Airstream with Bono and Edge and William's son and his manager was... total, you can't make it up.
Yeah.
I'd read all his books. It was a day off for me. And they were filming a video that day, and William had agreed to do like a cameo role in the video.
Right.
And this was happening, and I was at the hotel. Bono calls up and goes, "Look, Howie, we're in an Airstream with William Burroughs. I think it'd be a really good idea if you came over. Also, he's looking for a wee bit of weed." And I was like, okay.
Wow.
And that was it. It was so. That was a classic moment for me, and it's a still precious. I tell it to it's a gorgeous afternoon for me. Working with Ry Cooder as well was incredible for me. Siouxsie and the Banshees.
Of course. Yeah, that's so funny because when you were asked before about who your big heroes were, before you got into music, it sounded like it was like Siouxsie and the Banshees. There was Brian Eno, right?
Yeah.
Sly and Robbie. Like a lot of people that you've ended up working with. How incredible is that?
It's a joke. Simone, it's a joke. It's a freaking joke. And also the work I did with those people, I love. I play it and I go, it's like reading a diary. I didn't write a diary. I should have written a diary, but then I go, wait a minute, no. I've got a musical diary. And you know, Budgie, Steve, Siouxsie Sue is like, whoa. And that was the first thing. That was like my first, I don't know, flag going up.
Yeah.
You know, was this mix that I did for them called Peekaboo. Mm-hmm. And whoa. You know, and then Brian Eno. Yeah. Brian Eno coming in and, you know, like, oh, Howie, you've got this, I got this phone call. At the time, I was married to a beautiful woman called Harriet. She still is called Harriet.
Just not married to her anymore.
I'm not married to her anymore, yeah. And she goes, there's a phone call. U2 want you to go and work with them on an album, an experimental album they're doing with Brian Eno. And I go, fuck off. And literally 2 days later, I was out in Ireland and sitting in a room with Brian Eno.
Wow.
Going, Howie, I've prepared some things for you. Have a listen to this cassette and I'd like to know what your ideas are. Wow. This is like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm with a guy that I've been listening that is like totally coloured my musical life.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's asking for my opinion. What the fuck?
Who do you think from all the people you've worked with? Because, I mean, the list is just endless. I mean, you've already mentioned Björk, and then there's Massive Attack and Tricky, and I can't even think all the people. I mean, there's so many people you've worked with. So Soul to Soul, Goldie, Siouxsie and the Banshees. I mean, it's just U2, of course. But who have you learned the most from, or who has inspired you the most? Did you learn? I mean, or have they learned more from you? Maybe it's the other way.
No. I listen. I do listen, Simone, and it's like one of the most nervous moments of my life was whenever U2 asked me to produce the live show. This is like. And at that time, and when I got that call, I was sitting in the studio with Ry Cooder. And I know Ry's music incredibly well. And I know his live performance is outrageous. And the bands he's worked with, etc. And I said, Ry, give me some advice here. Give me, please. And this guy is the same age as my father, right? So it's like, it's a sort of advice. Anyway, so I go right, and he goes, Howie, get them to play quietly and get them to listen to each other. Wow. The quieter they play, the more air they will move. That's the best bit of advice I've ever had in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah, the quieter they play, the more air they will move. And I carried that message with me for a year and a half when I was producing the live show, rehearsing with them, bringing them closer together, getting them to play quieter on stage, looking at each other, and it was like, whoa. And after about 3 or 4 weeks when we started that tour, all of a sudden it just went, yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's that. And then there's Bono, when he instilled to me the idea of signature. that he goes, Howie, I know you. I can hear your music. You know, someone puts on one of your records, I know it's you immediately. And he goes, how do I know that? And he goes, because you've got a signature.
Yeah.
So it was instilling. So that was really interesting. And then there's this other guy, Robbie Robertson. And Robbie would go, break the rules. Yeah, you don't need to sing in a song. You can talk. Yeah, you can talk. It's the story you tell. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Get
the story across. So I can keep going on, Simone. I can keep. There's so many. There's not just one instance or one person. It's like that, and the most important thing is to listen. For me to listen to. If I ask a question, then to listen.
Yeah.
What comes back and act on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me play one more quote for you about the performances you did. This is quite a funny one, silly one.
This is Select magazine, February 1998, and it asks loads of people like the Aphex Twin, Ed Simmons of the Chemical Brothers, everyone the same question. Colin Greenwood of Radiohead. It's great, this. Howie B and the Fran Healy of Travis. Same question. Have you ever been booed off stage? So for Howie B, oh yeah, I was beautifully booed off stage in Warsaw the other week. It was a great moment. People were throwing their packed lunches, bottles of piss, potatoes, the whole effing works. I played for far too long and they were waiting for the U2 experience, so something had to give.
Do you remember that?
I remember it very well.
Yeah?
I had to be protected by two roadies. Yeah, it was... What happened was... Right. So I'm playing. I went to play for an hour, 45 minutes an hour, right?
Yeah.
So I played for 45 minutes and then I get a little... One of my roadies comes up and goes, Howie, need to extend it. There's a technical problem. La 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 la. The band are not ready to go on yet. No problem.
Right.
I carry on playing. It's now an hour and 15 minutes, and there's this whole stadium. It's a massive stadium, right? I don't know how many people. 80,000 people. They're not interested in me whatsoever. All they wanted, they want you too. Right. All of a sudden, these things start coming at me, right? Like, even like tinfoil wrapped packed lunches, right? Boof, hit me in the head, and I take it for about 2 minutes. I'm taking it, and I'm dodging, and I'm seeing it coming in. Then I made the massive mistake. I picked up someone's packed lunch and I chucked it back. Oh, fuck. Then it was like a fucking assault. Full-on assault. The whole of Warsaw against me, right?
Oh, my God.
20 seconds later, right? Two of these guys, two of the roadies come charging on stage with a big flight case, like the lid of a flight case, to protect me from, and they go, get off now. And we're all and it didn't stop. It went on for about, I think, 10 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. So that was it. That was like, it wasn't a boo, it was assaulted off stage. Fucking hell, yeah, I remember that very well. I remember, and I was drenched in, fuck knows what it was, but it was like, it was terrible. Yeah, that was it. That was
wow.
That was incredible moment for me.
You know, yeah. I actually find your level of success and fame actually really quite interesting, because it's almost like, to me, it seems like you've had the best of both worlds. You have lived an experience like the top of the top with regards to what you achieved, the people that you were with, the circles that you moved in. And yet you know, not everybody knows your name. People who know music know you, right? I assume you've always been able to walk down the road.
Yeah.
But do you think that you were lucky, or did you at that point ever wish or dream that you were more recognizable around the world, like that your face was more recognizable? Do you know what I mean? Like, did you want that level of fame, or were you quite happy where you were?
My intention is being in the back room.
Yeah.
I love Simone. I love when I produce a band and they go, thank you, we sound fucking great.
Yeah.
That joy that I get from that is brilliant. It's brilliant. So no, I'm not. It's never about me. I mean, production-wise, in terms of my own music, then yeah, of course, it's about me. Right. It's about my feelings, my emotions, my life. But whenever I'm working with a band, and I've had some problems. It's not always been like this. I've been sacked many times, Simone.
And you started as a T-boy. I love that bit as well, that you started in the recording studio as a T-boy. You worked your way up, so I guess you had a few knockbacks along the way as well. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So you make mistakes, and the mistakes usually are related to ego, or putting your foot in, or pushing yourself and not them, the band or the artist. So I've learned an awful lot, and I still love what I'm doing. Yeah. I can't see myself doing anything else. No. I love the fact that I'm feeding my family with what I'm doing. Yeah. And I'm living on an island, and people are going, what are you doing here? You're not a fisherman, you're not a farmer. How are you here?
You live on an island?
I live in a wee island, yeah, on the west coast of France.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How cool. So hold on, so describe the island to me. It's literally just you guys are on an island, or it's like a bigger island and there's a bunch of people on it?
Well, what do you mean by...
Like, which island? Like, is it a little island? Is it a lake and then you're in the middle of it, or like a...
No, I'm in the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
It's called Ile d'Oléron.
Okay.
It's just above the Bay of Biscay, and there's like 3 musicians that live here, and the rest are farmers and fishermen and oyster farmers.
I love it. That's so random.
It's very random, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I've been here now 4 years. And I love it here. I love it.
Wow.
I'm literally, like, my front garden, I can spit into the Atlantic Ocean from here if I've got a really bad cold.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Howie, tell me a little bit, what's coming up for you? What are you working on right now?
Okay, just now, I've got a few projects. I've set up a new record label called Dogtooth Records.
Is this your first label since Pussyfoot? Because you had that...
Exactly,
right,
yes,
okay.
Yeah. So I've set up a new label, and the first release on that comes out in May, June, and the artist on that label is Tristan Bress, and he lives here. He lives on the island, and he's an incredible bass player who I met in a patisserie.
How funny!
Yeah. So I've done that. I haven't done that, but I've created a vehicle for him to release his music. Right. Then I've just finished producing an album with a guy called Clemens Hannigan, who's from Iceland. And this is I would call it like a blue-eyed soul album. He used to be, or he still is, in a band called Tatari. They're an incredible band.
Yeah.
Then I've just also finished an album with two Italian people from Milan they're called Pindar, and I would call that like a sort of trip-hop-ish, guitar-esque sort of thing. Just on a techno album.
You're a busy man.
That's what I do, Simone. That's what I do. What do you want me to do? Yeah.
And you just played your first gig again. You were telling me that before.
And I played my first gig again. Yeah. And I've got my new album. I've got a new album coming out November this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the last time I brought an album was like 2016, 2015. So it's been a long time waiting, and it's a stonker. Ooh. And I've got a singer. I've got singers from young peeps from all over the world.
Yeah.
Featuring on it. It's more a collaboration really than a Howie B album. I've got a guy called Liam Crocker from Manchester. He's in a band called Wenatchee. Clemens is appearing in it. Then I've got I've been doing lots of stuff.
There's a lot.
It's interesting. Another thing I've been doing is I've been doing a meditation album too. Ooh. Guided meditation. Ooh. Which is I've been doing with a friend of mine in Bangkok, who runs a brilliant music festival called Wonderfruit. You need to check that out. It's really cool.
And where can I find the meditation music? Because that sounds interesting as well.
You go on to wonderfruit.com.
Wonderfruit.com, yeah. Okay. All right, we'll go check that out.
We've released about 4 or 5 already. And then there's going to be a proper vinyl release, I think, October this year.
Yeah. You keep him busy. Yeah. I like it. It's great. And you're in a beautiful spot on the planet.
I'm just whenever I left London, I was a little bit nervous about it, and I thought the calls are going to stop. I'm not going to be meeting, and the social thing's going to stop. And the social thing stopped. The calls didn't stop. They just kept going. And I moved into a different, what's it called? Genre. Not genre, but I was using my skills in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm working on my own. I've really entertained the whole digital world, music world of applications, plugins, and I'm very comfortable with it.
Well, technology makes it possible now. When I moved to Belize in 2001, that was it. I just moved away from everything, lost contact with everybody. There was nothing, I didn't even have a bridge to get to the other side of the river here. I mean, I literally was in the jungle, right? It was, and now it's like the whole world has been opened. I'm chatting to you. I mean, everything. It's just
it's
we
great.
can be
it's
anywhere.
Great. It's great.
It works these days. Hey,
it
Howie,
does work.
Thank you so much for talking to me. It's been such a pleasure. Pleasure? It's been such a pleasure. It's been such a pleasure catching up with you again.
It's a good one. Yeah. Simone, thank you. Thank you for asking me to do this. I really enjoyed this.
Good.
I really enjoyed this.
Oh, all right, Howie. Thank you so much, and good luck with everything. And I'm definitely going to do that meditation as well. It sounds good.
Howie B. How was Howie B?
How was Howie B? He's a fascinating character, like we already expected, kind of new. The thing I really enjoyed was talking to him about music on quite esoteric levels, like creating sound and putting feeling and emotion and abstract notions into sound, and creating the spaces between the sound and why you want to create the spaces to basically have the space for the listener to, to take it wherever they want and to fill in the gaps. I mean, it was an interesting conversation. And of course, his stuff about U2 was good fun. He had a crazy life with them. So yeah, it was just incredibly.
Does he miss that kind of
No.
No. Yeah. Does he?
No. He seems very content. He lives.
He doesn't.
He lives on a little island in the Atlantic Ocean, and he said it's great. There's like 3 musicians on the island, and apart from that, it's a bunch of fishermen and farmers. And he says he can spit into the Atlantic Ocean from where he is if he's got a bad cold, like that. So yeah, no, he's happy. He's happy, and it was good, and it was fun, and I just love reconnecting with people. It's just the best.